So we're about halfway through phase 3 with the OTAs. We have 4 more next week, and then the following week is mini camp, and it's very similar. A little bit longer time for meetings, but any questions? I think this, the one thing, and look, I just figured out how to get home, and I said last week, it seems like 25 is an important road around here. So, but when I've watched them, in like we all get caught up and you get excited. Your star players are unselfish. And I feel like it's a team that enjoys each other, and I'm going to guess that they probably do things together off the court, and I don't know that that's the case with every team. Literally last week, I was just having a conversation with Mike Krzyzewski about something else, and then the subject came. I asked the question, hey, how do you like the matchup with the Heat? And he mentioned culture with both teams. And I think, I think you see that with our team, and I think you see it from the Heat as well. And so, look, it's why the last 2 teams remaining. But from a beginner's perspective, when I watch them, you feel that, and that's impressive.
Coach, have you talked to Michael Malone?
No, Patrick gave me his cell. I texted him and wished him well, and shoot, I know on the other end, it's you got a million things going on. When you win 4 games in a row against the Lakers, and you go into your locker room as a coach, and then you meet with the media, and then you go to your cell phone, there's 380 text messages. And so it was just simply good luck, and what a great, accomplishment, and that was it. Well, look, so there's a lot that goes into it. We were lucky enough in New Orleans to draft Marshawn Lattimore and a few other corners that were really good players. With Patrick, I remember his dad playing. So you would say his physical traits, he's long and he's built prototype for what you're looking for in the position. He's got great makeup. He's tough. He's smart. The ball finds him. He's got good ball skills. And so, with a few of these corners, it's funny when I always love this time of the year where, everything getting ranked. But obviously he appears on all those top corner lists, and a lot of those guys are younger players. And so there's certain positions that can reveal themselves quicker than others. And certainly we've seen that from him. And so, I mentioned the physical, I mentioned the mental, all those things come together, and then you get, an elite player. And a corner, those are hard to find.
Saying that about Pat on the other side, how much pressure is there on Damari Mathis, whoever else is playing on that side of this quarterback?
Sometimes the coverage can dictate that too. It's a great question, though. I think that pressure falls a little bit more on third down when you decide by game plan, look, you want to take a certain player out of the game, and then, on the other side, that, the balls are going to come your way. But, if we're rolling one direction, cloud, for instance, with safety help, then it's hard to force the ball over there. But I think it becomes more prevalent in man coverage schemes than sometimes in zone. But it's a good question.
What did you like about Ben Powers and maybe him, one of the initial guys you targeted in free agency, and how has he looked?
Yeah, he's doing well. Look, the toughest group, in these practices, the challenge are for the offense and defensive linemen, right? the skill guys are in space, but it's hard when, they're competing maybe for the same gap in a run play. But back to Ben, he man, all the things you're looking for, his skill set, he's strong, he's smart. There's certain things you look for in an offensive lineman. He can anchor, and I think that's important. The significance of your guards, and we had, a couple of really, really, really good guards throughout the years with Drew, and the significance for Russell. I think that's important. His makeup, I mean, he loves football. So he certainly was a target. And then he also comes from a place that's used to winning. And that room's kind of had probably the biggest turnover of any. And I think that'll serve us well.
Greg Dulcich had a catch out there today. What has he shown you?
He's had a good day.
Yeah. What has he shown you so far in OTAs, and what do you need to see from him?
Well, look, he's got unique skill set. He's got traits in the passing game. We use the term joker, where we can get matchups. The trick sometimes is trying to predict what you're going to get defensively, if you're going to get a nickel package or a base package. But man, he can run. He's got good ball skills, and he had one of his better practices today. So then you begin to build on that. And right now there's an install that's taken place, and the players they go play those spots. And when you get into the season, you really get more specific to who's running what route. And I think his menu is going to be lengthy in the passing game, and there's enough stuff that we can do in the run game. I've been lucky enough to I've had Shockey and Witten, Jimmy Graham, and I'm probably leaving out a few guys, but and I'm not saying this young player, but he's got traits that are exciting. And today was one of those days where, you begin to have a vision. We worked on third down today. And so, the joker player for us it's not a receiver. It's either a running back or a tight end with exceptional ball skills. And then, you can work matchups and we've had that at the running back. Reggie Bush was a joker. Darren Sproles, Alvin Kamara. Those were all unique players, not just in the running game, but they had passing game skill sets that allowed you to do multiple things. I think Greg does too.
You mentioned the vision, and some of the guys you signed that you worked with before you have a good idea of what that is. How long does it take, maybe especially like with the wide receiver room where there's a lot of guys that are
You're always guarded. I'll give you an example. We drafted in the 7th round a player, Marcus Colston, in that first 06 draft. He was a compensatory 7. So, I mean, towards the end of the draft. And during this period of time, he was a little overweight. Not a lot, but as a receiver, he was having back spasms. And meanwhile, we had a 6th round pick at receiver 2, who was the Blitnikoff, and he was magnificent out here, And then training camp came, and all of a sudden we began to see a little different player in Marcus. He began to pick things up, and by the time we got to the start of the regular season, he was our starting X. So, you just want to be cautious not to judge too quickly or evaluate too quickly. You're working on their improvement, and so that's kind of been my experience with not just the receivers, but with a lot of these positions. The pads sometimes can define a player. Like there'll be a couple guys here that we're watching, and then when training camp begins, all of a sudden, man, the profile changes because we're now in full pads. And so, it's hard to be in these drills defensively, your assignment, your alignment, your technique, but when the pads come on, then you get a better feel for your team. So I think that's important to, I don't want to say hold judgment, but patience and making sure that the number one thing is, does he know what to do? The worst thing we can do as a coach is confuse a player and then he's playing, 70% speed because he's uncertain. So then that hinders the evaluation. Now, ultimately, they got to get it, and it's sometimes it's not for everyone. It's just too much. But they're picking it up. I'm pleased with that. And, yeah, it's gone well so far.
You signed Elliott Fry. Talk about the decision to go ahead and do that. And is that a position that you're going to keep looking at?
Yeah, and look, that's not the only position we're going to keep looking at. One of the things that I learned early on, which was interesting, and Bill Parcells taught me this, when he would talk to the team, he would say, don't pay attention to the depth chart just in your meeting room. If you're a safety, Steve, and you're just looking at the other strong safety, you're competing against the other 31 teams' safeties as well, because one might become available. We had a kicking battle one year in New Orleans, 2 guys, and man, you guys all charted it each day during training camp. It was either or, and this went on, and it was one of those battles where I don't know if I was any clearer after 4 weeks than I was when it began. They both did, good things, and then had days maybe they weren't as good. And then the final cut down takes place at 53, and I get a call from someone I know well with another staff that thinks he's got a kicker, and we bring him in on Monday, work him out, and we sign neither of the two in the kicking battle. And so don't pay attention to the line in front of you or the room you're in. You're competing with yourself to put your best product on the field, because there's 31 other teams that might be deeper in a position, and then you have availability for. So we'll talk about that.
Coach, to the point of installs you were talking about, a lot of these players on offense have been in 3 different offenses now for years. What's the challenge of trying to reset what they previously learned and incorporating the new stuff?
Yeah, look, a number of these guys, and not just offenses, head coaches, I said it in the first team meeting. You guys, some of you might feel like orphans, but you've got to quickly adjust. Players are resilient. They're going to learn. I think it's something that's talked about a lot. He's been with coordinators are going to change. Position coaches are going to change. I think these guys are picking it up. Certainly, we're mindful of some of the things that they've used before. Russell, if there's something that they know well, then we'll learn it as a staff and then adapt with it. But yeah, players will learn it, and there's a few different ways to call certain things, but quickly I think they pick that up.
Overall, how's Russell doing?
He's doing well. Today I thought was a good day. Today's third down, so here's the challenge in OTAs with third down.
How was your?
Well, I'm getting ready to tell you the challenge of third down. The challenge of third down is you got to contest every throw, and so within the framework of OTAs, it's hard to do that. So they understand it. I'll whistle and just talk about the period, and we can see if there's a sack. We can see if a DB's in position, but generally speaking, especially on those early yards, we're contesting every throw, and so it's a little bit less challenging when you're in first and second down playing zone defense, but he's doing well. All right, 2 more. So he had one of those training camps that surprised us a little bit. He was a free agent out of Tennessee, and we had a lot of success in those years, 15 years of free agents making the roster. And you've heard me say this, once they get here, we've drafted, we've signed free agents, we've tried players out. Once they get here, it's how they got here then is of no importance to us. That's the art of just procuring players. Once they're here, we're going to go by what we see. But Marcus made a real strong impression, and his weight's a little high right now, and he'll get that down. I think sometimes the skilled players I kind of like the skilled players that right out of college weight, and occasionally they'll get over that, and then but he's someone that found a niche, and then all of a sudden he's in the starting lineup. So he's in a good group. I think we've got some depth there, and we've got good competition there. One last one.
Christian Parker is one of the guys you kept on staff. You did the coaching starter last week. What have you just seen? He's obviously a young guy.
Yeah, two coaches. He and Marcus both stood out. I knew Dom Capers, and I hope that doesn't age me. I'm trying to think who else on the staff. So there weren't many people I was very familiar with, but those guys were very impressionable. I think I've got good instincts, and I felt good teachers, and I felt passion with them. I think Marcus got a little pissed off at me in the first week or two because I thought he was a player, and I met him like 3 times and kept asking him how the workouts were going, and he's looking at me like, so I struggle with names early on, but both of those guys have passion and are very talented, and I think have a lot of upside. One last one.
You want the game tonight?
I am. I've got some college friends that are in town that all of us played quarterback at Eastern Illinois, and we get together once a year. And so, I'm going to take them and convert them to Nuggets fans. So it'll be exciting. It's exciting for the city. And when you think of this for a second, in 2 years, the Cronkies have won a Super Bowl, have won a Stanley Cup, and they're in a position to win an NBA championship. And I think that's something that, good to be a Cronky for the last 2 years, right? I mean, that's pretty impressive to have that type of success. And so I'm excited for the city to watch these guys, and we'll have a chance to go.
Maybe a little family competition.
I mean, it was just something I was paying attention to, thinking that never has happened before, right? And so, all good. Thank you, guys.